Hello, everybody. My name is Marsh, and welcome to my review for episode 7 of season 2 of The Wheel of Time. Let's jump into it. So, episode 7, the penultimate episode. If you haven't seen this episode yet, feel free to click off the video and go watch it, and then come right back. Other than that, though, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between, and I'll give you my thoughts on it overall and what I'm thinking going into the final episode as well. Now, this is your spoiler warning. Also, if you end up enjoying the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. But let's get started. So, let's go ahead and talk about some of the good first, since you always want to stay positive. So, some of the good was the interaction with Rand and the Amyrlin. Specifically, we'll talk about prior to their first meeting. It was when Rand was talking to Lan. I feel like that moment between Rand and Lan is what we missed out on in the beginning of the season, where in the Great Hunt that was there. But also, it was probably the first moment we've seen with Lan in this season that has been like Lan for the most part, if that makes sense. A lot of the Lan moments prior have not been Lan. He hasn't been stoic, hasn't been his normal self where he gives some of the best one-liners and wisdom to all the characters. And we finally got him actually training Rand, giving him some wisdom, showing the sword forms and going through that. And it was a positive. It doesn't 100% cure Lan's storyline with what they're doing with him, because there are some issues that come up later. But it was nice to see that they still bring those moments up. Now, from that point, Rand goes in, meets the Amyrlin. I liked this interaction. Didn't really have any complaints with it. It was reminiscent to the book, and I think they did a good job with the Amyrlin and Rand in terms of setting up like stakes and basically showing him how much of a fool he is. He's not ready, not prepared, and sort of like setting up this interaction and this like trust between the White Tower and Rand and what that relationship is going to be like, at least with Swan there, and how they're handling that. I thought it was good overall. My only real main nitpick with that scene when the two of them met initially was just a one-liner that Swan said at the end. She's like, "Oh, I wish the dragon would have been born as a girl." It's like, I know in this universe they're trying to say the dragon could be a boy or a girl. I don't have a problem with like girls being presented with authority in the show or any shows in general. It's just it goes against the whole concept of the dragon. But that's enough of that gripe. Not going to talk about that anymore. As a TV show, people probably won't even notice that. But it does go against the whole power system and how the one power works. But that was one of the good points, was their interaction for that. I have some nitpicks later with how the Amyrlin handled other stuff, but we'll talk about some other good things first. The other good thing that I really liked was Lan and Nynaeve's storyline. They didn't do a lot in this episode, but what they did was important and well done in that case. So, like, for example, they noticed Aiel and they talked with him, sort of made a plan, figured out what's going on, and they collared one of the Shan, and basically there's a revelation coming for TV people that I'm not going to say, but you might already have the understanding of what's happening. But it's a huge moment, them collaring them. Gives them some power, gives them some authority, and the ability to go in and save Egwene. And then, talking about Egwene, I liked her storyline with this so far as well. They're still doing the training thing that was done well in the last episode. The moment they had in this episode where they're actually out in the field was kind of reminiscent as well of the book. I believe in the book, in Great Hunt, they had a moment where Egwene was being like tested, and they're having her like weave with the earth and do things of that sort. And so it wasn't exactly the same, but it was reminiscent to that. And so it was good to see that, and them continuing to build the relationship between the Damani and how that works in the Shan culture. I also liked how Egwene is still powerful and still is who she is when she says she's going to kill Rena at the end, and Rena's trying to be all nice and say, "I know why you didn't trust me. It's because you don't know our Shan ways, our goals." And it just shows how oblivious some of the Shan are when it comes to their way of thinking and how they handle things. And they don't really see things for what they are. It's very jaded, not jaded, but it's a very specific and biased point of view, and they don't understand why anyone would not want it. Let's go to more of a little bit of a mixed bag thing. Let's talk about Matt for a bit. Matt, I like how the actor is acting with Matt and the characterization of Matt so far. The only issues I have with Matt are his story per se, like the logic and point of it. So we know he was with Min, and I guess the whole point of the Min thing that they were doing was just to get Matt in an area that the Forsaken could take advantage of him, I suppose. He gets knocked out against a wall. I don't know what it is with the show. They need to figure out a different way to knock people out. Maybe like use some smelling salts or something. Or not smelling salts, but something to like knock them out. Chloroform. Because they keep knocking out people by slamming heads into walls. I'm pretty sure they're all going to get concussions. And then he magically teleports to Falm. Probably not magic. It was probably Lanfear, and she probably did something with Teleronriad to do that. So, I mean, there is a logical explanation for him going there, but it's just like they drop the Min storyline and they're just going to Matt, and they're doing like this revelation thing with him and Ishmael. And Ishmael is like trying to play both sides, and I like how they're handling the Forsaken. It's just the whole Matt part thrown into it, which is more of the issue. I like his characterization, how he's talking to Ishmael and like the relationship, but like I don't get his storyline because in the books he's like dagger obsessed, and they're trying to grab the dagger from Podon Fane and do that. They haven't mentioned that at all. All of a sudden now he's trying to figure out who he is, and so I don't know if they're like doing a thing where his memory is wiped, which I mean it makes sense for Matt, but like at this point in the books it doesn't if we're doing that. So it's just more of a logical thing with Matt that I don't get. In terms of the scene of him drinking the tea, it was fine. We saw some foreshadowing for some future events within there that are possible. They could happen, they may not, because we have no clue what's going to happen in the TV show. But there was possible foreshadowing there, which was cool to see. And we'll see if any of that comes true with Matt. They're still going with this like perspective of him being like a worthless type of thing, and his mom hates him and everything. It's fine. That's the characterization they're planning to go with. But it's just more confusion on his storyline. I guess that's what they did to get him to Falm, but it's just weird. It feels a little forced. Maybe that's what it is. Going to the other character, let's talk about Perrin. He does get to Falm eventually, but he's with Aviendha, and we meet Bane and Chiad. I mean, the cinematography in these scenes they need to fix, because these nighttime shots are just not doing it. They're way too dark. And some of that I had to turn my brightness up like all the way, and still like not the best. But so cinematography wise, it's not the greatest. But one thing I do like that they're doing with the Aiel is trying to explain their culture. So this episode was like trying to explain what Toe is, Jiito, and all that stuff. And they had Avian to get beat up by Bane and Chiad for letting Juliana die, or Julian. Not quite sure. We didn't really meet them. So it was good to get that explanation. I'd be interested to know how a TV-only series person takes that type of scene. I enjoy it because I really like the Aiel, so I was enjoying it overall. I thought they're doing a good job. I feel like there was a few moments where I feel like their accent was slipping up, but it was very slim and not very noticeable. But I like how they're doing the maiden hand talk and all that stuff, and it shows that they're at least like listening to the culture of the Aiel when it comes to them. Okay, let's jump to one of my least favorite storylines. That would be Lan and Moiraine again. This like division between Lan and Moiraine is just not doing it for me. The actors are great, but I feel like it's just the writing for it. I don't know what exactly is trying to be done with them. I mean, I get what's trying to be done. I just don't agree with it. But they have their like arguments and their spats, and they go apart, and they'll eventually come back together. We'll talk about that. But let's first talk about Lan. He visits Loghain, and somehow he has the idea that since Moiraine hasn't committed suicide, she isn't actually stilled, and she's just shielded because she hasn't committed suicide, and every other woman apparently who's been stilled has. And so he goes to Loghain and asks him if he saw the weaves on her. And I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, but I don't know if Lan would be the type to figure that out per se, since he doesn't really know how weaves work for the most part. Because men can't see the weaves. I don't know if they can in this show. I don't know. They haven't really explained it, but they kind of did because women can't see at least the male channelers. So it should go both ways. It just felt weird having Lan decide it. And to be honest with Logain, I know a lot of people really like what the actor is doing. I don't know if I really like how he's portraying the character. They're trying to dive really into the madness aspect of the One Power and make him seem like a crazy person. And the actor's doing a great job at being a crazy person, but I don't know if I agree with that decision. That's just a personal thing. But as it is, that scene, he figures out he's able to go and talk to them and eventually go to Moiraine and tell her what's going on when they're trying to go through the Waygate. I wanted to talk about Selene for a bit. I really like Selene. Everything that they're doing with Lanfear and Selene, basically. My only real gripe was her like going in and blowing up all of Kyrian and setting it on fire. I feel like she is really more someone who works in the shadows, and like behind the scenes. She's not really one to like just blast in from the front. That's my only complaint. But other than that, everything's great with Lanfear so far. She's one of the most captivating characters in the series, and her relationship between Rand and her and how they're building that dynamic of trusting each other is working for me at the moment. I think the actor's great as well. She's doing a great job at like being that evil, conniving Forsaken. And I also liked how her interaction with Matt, that was also a scene taken from The Dragon Reborn in the tower. But that's like another reason why I don't think she should go blasting in, because she has the ability to get into the White Tower without being noticed by anyone. So why is she gonna make this giant distraction when she could probably just slip in and knock out Lyanna, Sedai, and just take Rand? So it's interesting. Now that we're talking about Rand being like shielded, there is one thing I want to talk about in a super spoiler book only section at the very end around that, and I'm not even gonna say the character it's involved with so that we don't need to worry about spoilers. But yeah, that's whatever. There's also the storyline with Liandrin and the Dark Friend's son, the Damodred. This was done well. I still don't care for it, but I think the point of it, or not that I don't care for it, it's just not part of the main storyline. I think the good in it is that it shows everyone that Dark Friends are everywhere and people that you don't suspect, because he seems like this innocent kid. I'm just making sandwiches for you, Moiraine. Here you go. But it shows him that he will do what he needs to, and the Dark Lord gets what they want and has his minions do his bidding. But yeah, I've talked about a lot of stuff, but let's get to the end, because I feel like this is where the most controversy will come in with book readers versus TV show people. I feel like TV show people may love it. I feel like book readers may be a little conflicted, but in the end, Lan reveals that the weaves can be cut and Moiraine can actually be unshielded. That happens. The Amyrlin comes and confronts them in front of the Waygate and uses the oath rod and the oath that Moiraine swore to force her to close the Waygate and show her power. And the Amyrlin's kind of being unreasonable, to be honest. She's just trying to take everything into her own hands, and she's not really listening to Moiraine. And then in comes Lanfear, bodying her, giving her like a concussion, and going off into the ways with everyone. That's probably the most controversial spot. TV show viewers, I feel like they'll probably like it, because it makes sense, and Lanfear plays both sides, and that's a common thing in the book as well. She's only doing things to benefit herself. You got to remember that. The Forsaken are all greedy. None of them are really doing anything for the Dark One. It's all to benefit themselves. So whatever she does is to help herself in the end. So her teaming up with Moiraine and all of them, it's controversial, I would say, because it's not something that would be expected. You can see it with Rand, and like Rand doing stuff every once in a while. But with Moiraine, that's interesting because she's never really had that choice to be bonded, or not to be bonded, but to work with the Forsaken and openly accept it, especially in front of the Amyrlin. That was pretty crazy. Let me know how you guys think about it. Overall, though, this is still one of the better episodes. It's not the best episode so far. It's still better than like the first few, I would say. Overall, season 2 is way above season 1, though. I'm really enjoying it for what it is, and I can't wait to see the final episode, actually. I'm actually excited, and I want to see what happens. Despite all my gripes and nitpicks, it just comes out of love. It's constructive criticism, if that's what you want to call it. It comes out of a place of love. But I'm excited for the final episode. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about some super deep book spoilers that are not part of the actual show. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then please click off. Consider leaving a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. But for you book people that are still here, one complaint I have is with Varen. Not really a complaint, but I feel like they're making her storyline too obvious. And if you're still listening and you don't want spoilers, leave. But Varen is a Black Ajah, as we all know. And she almost directly lied to Lyanna. And even Moraine's like clever way you play with your words there. And they might be making it too obvious that she's black. A Black Ajah. I think it may be too obvious for the audience, and I think they may catch on. I think they kind of want it to. Then they want I know what they're doing. They want the foreshadowing for future seasons when it's revealed, and then they're like, "Whoa, oh, I can see it happening. This here, she lied here, she did this here." But I think they're laying it on too thickly, if that makes sense. Let me know if you think they're doing that, or if it's just because we know what the reveal is that it's too obvious. The other thing, Moiraine teaming up with Lanfear. We all know what happens between Moiraine and Lanfear in like I think it's book 5. And yeah, Lords of Chaos. Pretty sure it's Lords of Chaos, or it's Fires of Heaven. I don't know, but it's a book 5 or 6. I'm pretty sure. And they're gonna end up like killing each other, and this is just interesting. I don't know if it's something Moiraine would ever do in the books, but it's controversial, and we'll see what happens with it. As a TV viewer, I don't hate it, but as a book person, it's questionable. Let me know what you think about that, though, as well. And if you're going to talk about like future book spoilers, please leave a spoiler tag so you don't spoil anyone who may not have read the books. Other than that, though, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.